So for me, it was pretty difficult trying to go home on the weekends. All last year was a challenge. And so for me, going home on the weekends meant that this was what a typical Sunday looked like. A typical Sunday for me looked like a 2-hour drive to Eloy Detention Center, where my dad, I would only get 30 minutes to talk to him. With my siblings, we would wake up early at 4 a.m. to make sure we got there by 7. And then by 7, we'd be in there waiting until it was finally time to see him. And by the time we got out, it'd be 11. And it was time for me to come back to ASU. And so a lot of people ask me, what does JJAR mean? Those are the letters of the first initial in each of my family members' names. So the first two are me and my dad. The next two are my 2 brothers. The other last 2 are my little sister and my mother. So I hold this ring really close to me because to me, it means that they are with me always, that I always feel them with me because we are a family and they have been the ones that have supported me through all my life achievements. And so my dad was detained in July of 2017, and then he remained in Eloy Detention Center for what seemed like almost a whole academic year. And so in April of 2018, he was released. But when I say released, he was deported. He was deported back to Mexico, where I have not seen him in a couple of months. And so for me, it was pretty difficult. But seeing the effects it had on my younger siblings was even harder, because a lot can happen in a year. In a whole academic year, I was becoming a first-generation college student. My little brother, he was becoming a high school student, a high school student. And my 2 other siblings, one was in middle school, and the other, she was just starting her path. She was going into kindergarten. And the effects that I saw, that they tried to do their best to become resilient. Because for all of us, there was nothing we could say that could help us comfort each other or live the experience. It was a lot of just, it's happening and we're not going to talk about it, because that's all we could do. My older brother, I saw the spark of interest in education loosen, because for him, the priorities at home were much greater than education. For him, he had to come home. So if he had a test to retake, if he had tutoring to do, he can't do it because there needs to be someone at home to make sure my younger siblings can come home, eat something, and the bus doesn't take them back to school. For my other brother, I consider him my twin. We're both very loud, and we like to just be as extra as we can. But for him, to see him come up to me while I'm trying to do my homework or something, and him to just hug me tight and silently start crying because he doesn't know how to tell me that he's having a rough time, that was difficult. For my younger sister, I think that was the most heartbreaking for me, because for me to see her ask very hard questions that we can't answer was the worst thing I had to hear. For her waking up crying from a nightmare and asking me, or asking my mom, where is Dad? Why doesn't he come back from work? Why is he gone so long? And asking me if he has died at this point, because she doesn't understand anything that's happening. Because how do you describe to a 6-year-old that her father is deported, that her father is an illegal immigrant? What do you describe and how do you say what an alien is? These are really difficult questions to consider when you have to try and explain it to a 6-year-old. And this 6-year-old can't understand what's going on. So for me, it was horrible to have to see that, because for me, I saw how these effects had on them. The separation was horrible. They didn't understand how to cope with it, and neither did I. I couldn't understand how I could find a way to talk to them and tell them, everything's okay. Because throughout the whole year, we just heard, it be like that, or stuff happens for the reason, and stuff like that. There's nothing you can say to help you feel better. And that's okay. It's not hard to describe what we can do. There's nothing. It was a waiting game. It's a waiting game to see what you can do, what the choice someone makes has on your family. Will he stay or will he go? And ultimately, he had to go. And that was the effect I had to see on them. The effect to which point my sister stopped drawing my dad in pictures. She only drew me and my mom. And me and my mom in a car, because I became the chauffeur now. I became the driver to every event we did. If we ever go out on the weekends, it's only because I'm driving, because my mom can't. or because my mom is working. So I take them out. I take them everywhere because now our responsibilities have heightened. We are now parent to my other two siblings. And we have adapted, and we will thrive. But that's all we can do because there's nothing else that we can do. This whole year was hard for us, and it'll continue to be hard for us, and especially for my sister, since for her, she gets to miss out on those Skittles that my dad used to bring home every time he came from work. Or she'll miss out on getting random little sips of drinks. And that, I just want to leave you with those thoughts, that the effects of immigration can be pretty harsh, and we should really pay attention to them. Thank you.